So another week of the NFL is in the bag, and we are once again here at Across the Gridiron to go through all the details that you want to talk about. I'm here once again with my friend and yours, Eddie Ekbo, to break it all down. So, Eddie, how was your week, my friend?
It got better. my week certainly got better. It was a great week 7. I would say the London game was a much improved performance, and we'll get into that. But of course, rounding up with the Cowboys dominant victory, so we're going back to the Super Bowl. But before we get into that, I do appreciate everyone who's joined in. So hit that subscribe button as well, and let us, join in the conversation. Put some comments in as well. Let you know whether you disagree with all the things that we're going to say. We're probably going to say a few things today. So yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to discuss. We've got one happy Cowboys fan, we've got one very depressed Dolphins fan, and yeah, there's gonna be lots of stuff to talk about. So look, what we've done the last couple of weeks is we've often talked. We've started by talking about the London game because obviously you've been in attendance for both of those, but I'm gonna be kind to you today, Eddie. I think I'm gonna let you dive straight into Cowboys corner. And let you wax lyrical about the performance because once again, the Cowboys' offense showed up again. Right, we've talked about this before. You are a team with only one side of a football field, right? You only have an offense and you don't have a defense. And this week, the offense paid up as a big divisional game in a pretty convincing 44-22 victory over the Washington Commanders. So, Eddie, I'm sure when you got back from a very wet London on Sunday afternoon, you were able to sit down with a cup of tea and enjoy this game. I'm assuming.
I did sit down. I don't know if I enjoyed the game until it was kind of pretty sure that the outcome was secured. But I mean, the Cowboys pulled out their greatest hits, in this game. We saw CD. CD was immense. He's been away for like 2-3 weeks, and he looked like he didn't miss a beat. Just slotted into. And listen, if there are teams that are wondering if you've got two good receivers, how do you actually play them? This was the perfect example. This is what you do. CD Lamb. You play CD Lamb, you get him his touches. Josh Pickens, you get him his touches as well. You trust him. Dak Prescott, every time Josh Pickens was one-on-one, he was like, I'm sending the ball there. I don't care if there's a defender like grabbing him or on top of him. I know that Josh Pickens will do the business. And Josh Pickens did not disappoint. He was making the plays. And it just goes to show, what this team is capable of doing if they can just have a defense. The running game was great as well. Javonte Williams, he was running like a madman, breaking tackles, breaking people's ankles. He was like running like a man possessed. And yes, I know he's only here for a year, plus Josh Pickens. But sometimes, you need to just have the right mix, in the team. And it would be a real big shame if the Cowboys waste this opportunity, because I haven't seen the Cowboys offense play this well in a very long time. I'm even looking back to the likes when we had Des Bryant, when we had Jason Witten, Cole Beasley in the slot. I'm even thinking about, when we had Amari Cooper and Amari Cooper was there and things were going off. This Cowboy offense, even when Ezekiel Elliott in 2016 was in his prime, and Ezekiel Elliott was that guy, right? He was that running back. But the way that even that time, it felt like Ezekiel Elliott was the main thing. It was like if he didn't go off, the Cowboys couldn't be functional, right? But it doesn't feel like, you look at the wide receivers, Josh Pickens, you look at CD Lamb, you look at Javonte Williams, it feels like they're equally carrying the Cowboys offense. It's not just tilted to one player. So if you're thinking, I'm going to do a job on CD Lamb, well, there's Josh Pickens. And if you think I'm going to do a job on Josh Pickens, then you get Ferguson, Jake Ferguson catching a few balls, and all of that. He might not catch the big yards because he's not a running guy, but he will catch those, those catches that will get you the third down, will get you the first down and things like that. And Dak Prescott, how I feel about Dak Prescott. I mean, I think that, he's probably one of the underrated quarterbacks that we is actually in the league. And I know people might think, okay, you're a Cowboy fan, of course you will say that. But I mean, this is a player that this is not the first time he's played like this, right? And I don't know what other quarterback, and you can look at, Patrick Mahomes, you can look at Lamar Jackson, you can look at, all the different quarterbacks that are up there that people would say that they are in front of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is capable of having games like this where he's like 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. In his last couple of games, he's had a minimum of 3 touchdowns in his last 4 games. No interceptions, right? So, and you see him, in the game controlling the line of scrimmage, right? He's not phased. People are coming at him. He's just taking his time. He knows where he wants to get the ball to, and his accuracy is ridiculous. So, but the defense is the problem. The defense is, what is going to be the Achilles heel for the Cowboys. And they played better this game, but I don't think that the Washington Commanders were given an opportunity for the defense to really do some work. And if you allow the Cowboys to score 2 touchdowns ahead, that's it. It's done, right? Because I think that's when the defense plays a little bit better, when they don't need to have a stop. Like when it's like, I don't have to stop this team, but I can, right? And the team is getting a little bit desperate. So, no, it was a good game. That played well. Cowboys look like they're going to cause problems to people if their defense can hold up.
Yeah, it's a big if. But, I think I think everything he said is correct, and I'm pleased you picked up on Javonte Williams. I thought, look, he had the second most productive game for the Eagles, right? So in the second time he's rushed over 100 yards, and the other game was against the Jets, which is pretty much a freebie. So 116 yards off 19 carries, 6.1 yard average per carry, and that's the best he's been since the Week 5 game against Jets. So he was obviously made a big difference. CD Lamb and George Pickens are just playing consistent, right? George Pickens, as you said, 4 receptions, didn't get a touchdown, but CD Lamb was there, 5 receptions, 110 yards, touchdown. Yeah, the offense is singing, right? But the problem is they need to play lights out every week, and that's not possible. That's the problem. And I think that you're looking at a Cowboys team which is probably, I think it's probably going to end up with a winning record. The fact you've got that one tie is going to throw this a lot. But you could well end up with a winning record. You could well be in the mix for a wild card place come the end of the year. But that defense, if that defense could tighten up, right, you'd be in such a better position. Which we're not going to talk about Jerry Jones. We're not going to talk about the Micah Parsons trade. We're not going to do that because the day is only so short. And Cowboys corner would turn into a Cowboys cul-de-sac if we actually started talking about that. But it was a great day. We'll probably touch about sort of early MVP candidates, I think, in another episode, which I think that might be a good idea. Write that one down, Eddie. I know top of your list would be Dak Prescott because he is playing brilliantly. The pressure is all on him to lead this team and lead his offense to actually get to win games. But look, as the old adage is, and we've talked about before, is that offense wins games, defense wins championships, and that is where the Cowboys are going to fall short this season. The Commanders aren't the team they were last season. To let up 22 points is probably on the high high barrier, I think. But to score 44, to be as effective as the Cowboys are at the moment it's great. It's fun to watch for a neutral. I hate saying this to you because it makes me sound like I'm praising the Cowboys, and I don't like doing that. But as a neutral, it's fun to watch because when you watch a Cowboys game, you're going to have a high scoring match.
Yeah.
Right. So for the neutrals, I mean, they are America's team, and everyone hates that term if you're not a Cowboys fan. But Cowboys are a good watch at the moment because they're high scoring games. But I imagine for a Cowboys fan, it can be quite painful at sometimes because oh God, if we don't score here, it's going to come straight back.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's a great game. You're second place. Is there anything else you want to touch on the Cowboys before we're allowed to exit the corner?
No, the only thing I can say is that Jerry Jones, please stay out of the way. Don't stir up any controversy because I know you're itching to stir something up. He's gonna say something now that is just gonna create, controversy. And now the story is gonna be will the Dallas Cowboys pay Josh Pickens? And you can already see that beginning to unfold, right? How Cowboys always treat players who deserve to be paid. And he's going to make a big story about that. Will he pay Josh Pickens? Will he not? He will say stuff about the fact that Josh Pickens, get paid, and then he will say he doesn't get paid. And he just stirs up unnecessary. Just when you think the offense is humming, right? Then he starts to talk about, whether Josh Pickens is going to get paid. And Josh Pickens might be thinking, well, you know what? Maybe my long-term future is not the Cowboys. And right now, he's feeling the Cowboys. He's feeling Dak Prescott. He hasn't played with a quarterback that has brought this out of him, right, in all his time in the NFL. And, if you're a wide receiver and you've got a quarterback that is as good as Dak Prescott, right, Dak Prescott has gotten a lot of wide receiver paid, right, in the league. A lot of players that have played with him, have made so much money, on the back of playing with Dak Prescott because he gets you the ball and you get your yards. And all of that. So Josh Pickens, let's just hope Jerry Jones stays away from controversy and not, ruin what looks like good momentum building in Dallas.
Well, yeah, you can say that, but he's going to. So I mean, it's almost that's almost inevitable. I was just a quick final on this game. Obviously, it was a rough game for the Commanders, made worse by Jalen Daniels exiting the game with a hamstring injury. We think. I haven't seen any confirmation of how long he could be out for, but this wouldn't be ideal. He's a big part of that offense. So hopefully Jalen Daniels will be back fit soon, although I'm sure you don't wish him that well, given where they are in the division. Let's move on. And look, I know we've got this depth further down the running order, but I just need to get this off my chest, I suppose. Shall we talk? Shall we talk about
the Dolphins? What the heck happened there? I mean, look at me last week, bigging up the Dolphins, giving them high praise, motivating them. They didn't listen. They didn't watch the podcast because
it's yes. Who would have thought you didn't have McDaniel watching this podcast? Yeah, it was a nightmare. And I saw this coming a mile off. How you picked Dolphins in the prediction is beyond me, Edward. I don't know why you've done that. But anyway, it was...
I mean, the funny thing was that I was watching that game, right? And HN was being himself, right? He wasn't like HN was playing badly. It was just Tua, right?
Oh, Tua, had a nightmare.
He was just Tua. I mean, okay, one of the interceptions, I don't blame him. Well, I don't know if I don't blame him. The ball was a bit high. The player went for it, popped up, and then, they took it for a pick six. So I just, he looked like someone that doesn't believe in his team anymore, right? He looks like a player that is not leading the team and he's not transmitting confidence to the players around him. Because sometimes you see, quarterbacks, they would have games where they're not necessarily at their best, but you see the players actually, catching those almost balls, when the wide receiver gets his quarterback out of a hole, because they've just done and grabbed something that, okay, they shouldn't have caught that ball. AJ Brown does this all the time. Like, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, they do this all the time. They play for their quarterbacks like they're going to help him out, right? I'm going to catch that ball and move the ball forward. And I don't know, it just didn't, it feels unfair, but it didn't look like the Dolphin players wanted to play as hard as they could for the quarterback, because it almost felt like, well, there he goes again, throws another interception. I mean, what did you think about that game? Because I was really shocked that Tua played that badly in the game.
I'm not surprised he played as badly as he did, because there's been so much negativity around the camp at the moment, and some of that has been, labeled at Tua's door, given his comments last week about leadership. He caught some negativity off that. McDaniel said, "Oh no, that wasn't the forum to say this." So I think he's been given a bit of a rocket internally, but the whole camp just does not seem happy at all. When we did our predictions, I gave you it was a 2 for prediction. That one would be that the Browns would win. The second one would cost McDaniel's his job. That bit hasn't happened yet, but he could have cost Tua his job. Tua was benched for Quinn. Is it? He was, how do I have to pronounce his name? But the rookie QB came in. He actually got elevated to second choice after Wilson, I think, picked up an injury. Yeah. And Tua's just, 12 out of 23 in terms of attempts. He only threw for 100 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. You cannot win a game. You cannot win a game if you are turning over the ball with such regularity. And he was benched, and rightfully so. I think that the Dolphins are in a bit of state of flux now. Do I think Tua can turn us around? Yes. Every quarterback has a bad game, but I don't know if he could turn it around at Miami. I think the whole thing is getting so toxic, and I think Miami are looking at that. If Miami wanted to move on from Tua, they should have done it last summer. If they cut it, there was obviously a spate. I was reading an article about this earlier today. There was obviously a spate of QBs who were paid elite level money, but they are second or even third tier quarterbacks. Yeah. Tua is one of them. It was $64 million a year or whatever it is, and if they cut him this year, they're going to have like nearly $100 million of dead cap spend, and you don't want to be a Cleveland's Browns. Ironically enough, who we played last weekend with a really expensive quarterback sitting in the stands, right? You don't want that in your franchise. So, but this was just poor. And again, when we jumped on the call last week, I think we were doing our predictions. I overheard you listening to a pundit, a very excitable pundit, talking about this is a get right game for Miami. You're losing 31-6 in your get right, 31-6 in your get right game against a team like Cleveland Browns. Something is wrong, and it was just bad the whole way. Waddle, I know he went off injured in the fourth quarter, but one reception.
Yeah.
Right. He received 1 for 15 yards. The only person, as I'm pleased you mentioned him, was Devon Achane, who can at least come out with some bit of credit. 13 carries, 82 yards, average of 6. We were just that's a higher average carry per yards. We were looking at Javonte Williams, who was singing his praises for for Dallas. So no, I'm not surprised this happened. I don't know, and I don't know where the Dolphins go from here.
Is it fixable? I mean, is it like rip it all, start again? Is this?
Well, that's the thing is you can't just rip it up and start again because you've already committed to Tua.
Yeah.
So what could you do? You could cut him, right? Which I think I personally think it would be a mistake to cut him. But then if you cut him, you lose so much cap, right?
Yeah.
because he's got that committed. You could trade for him, but tell me which team in the league is going to want to pay Tua's money to be a backup QB or even a starting QB at the moment. I mean, there are a couple of places where Tua is obviously a better choice, better starting quarterback than what teams actually have. But it's
you could do what the Browns did with Joe Flacco, right? You could send him to the Jets because
the Jets do need a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of a good tagline that we can call this episode and put it on YouTube for the thumbnail. But no, you've got to think, and we always talk about this a lot in a lot of sports, right? Especially in our football. If the results aren't good, you can't sack the whole team, right? You can't replace a whole team if it's not working. There's one person you can replace, and that is the manager and head coach, right? So I don't think McDaniel will see out this season, right? He is in the hottest of hot seats at the moment. He is sat in the oven with his arse on fire at the moment. But and obviously we've seen Tennessee react, obviously with Callahan losing his job earlier, also later last week. This is a sort of game, and this is a sort of performance that gets head coaches fired, right? And there was no fight, there was poor reception, poor play calling, the whole thing, poor defense. You can't rip it up and start again because you've got too many players on big contracts to rip it up and start again. You could trade Waddle, you could trade Hill, you could try and trade Tua, but I don't think anyone would have him because I think people would have Hill back next year as long as he recovers from his injury. People would take Waddle because Waddle's got a lot of upside, and I think there's going to be a lot of people looking for someone as explosive as him.
Yeah,
but I don't think anyone's going to take Tua at that value. So you're going to have to perceive with Tua for the next year or two, unless you just take a huge financial cut, or he decides to retire or if he makes a choice to retire. But we talked about this in the off season. He's going to be walking. It's very hard to walk away from that huge amount of money unless the doctors tell him you absolutely have to do this for your health and for your family's health. So, yeah. I think it'll be McDaniels. They'll need a new head coach. They'll need a new style of play, and they just need to be tougher. They need a tougher head coach, and that's it really.
Yeah, I was checking the news because your owner Stephen Ross, he always meets up with McDaniels, after each game. But I think what's coming out, it feels like that dreaded vote of confidence that we always have over there, where it's like, McDaniel's not going to be sacked. That the guy has just one more game, right, to show up and do something. So you might be right. That dreaded vote of confidence might just be what sinks him completely.
Yeah. All we can do at the moment is just be happy for the existence of the New York Jets at the moment. Because at the moment, the Jets are the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
probably. You got the Titans and that kind of stuff. If you look at the AFC, Dolphins 1-6, Jets 0-7, Ravens 1-5, and you do think they will improve at some point.
Yeah.
And then you got the Titans 1-6. I mean, the Dolphins are worse at the moment. Seem to be playing worse than all of those. And the Titans are obviously probably a weaker team, but they do have a weaker squad. They don't have the talent in that the Miami team do. Miami just underperforming. I think the biggest underperforming teams in the league are the Ravens and the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think you're right. And let's give some love to the Browns. They're not exactly a great team, right? And I think that's what puts the nail in the coffin for the Dolphins, because the Browns won that with their defense. I mean, Quinshon Judkins, I've seen him in real life. He's great. He was pummeling, running the ball and all of that. It wasn't like Steve Dillon Gabriel was was really that good. I don't know if he threw for up to 200 yards. I think it was probably
No, 116, but he was a fairly efficient 13 out of 18. It's a decent percentage for a rookie, but you don't need to rely on a rookie when
they didn't need him to do much. The Browns had lots of short field goals, field positions in the game because of the turnovers. So when you give up 3 turnovers, and especially where Tua gave the ball up, they just took advantage of it.
Yeah, 1 pick 6, and he gave 1 away actually inside his own end zone. So it's like, well, and what we've seen in the last 3 weeks is how easy the Dolphins are to run at. But anyway, look, to be fair to Browns, fair play. I'm pleased with Dylan Gabriel. I'm always pleased when a rookie QB gets a victory because it's such a tough league, and I think the rookie QBs are so much that is expected of them. But Gabriel's come in and done a steady job, right? And I think we don't have to look very far in the AFC. We just need to look in Miami's own division to see how good rookie QBs can be if they are given time to adapt. And that's obviously Drake May, who's doing a fantastic job. And
like, oh my goodness.
Again, in terms of the Patriots are unfortunately the second best team in the division at the moment, in the league at the moment, outside the Colts. They're doing it. They're doing a fantastic job, and Drake May is doing a fantastic job. So don't want to talk too much about the Patriots, though. I don't want to give them any love. But so it's great to see Dylan Gabriel picking up a win, albeit at the expense of the Miami Dolphins. Now that's enough for the Miami Dolphins. I can't talk about them anymore because I will get too depressed. We just looking at the time, as we want to try and keep this around sort of just at the 45-minute mark. So we've got 15 minutes left. So we've got 2 games we kind of wanted to pick out, or 3 more games we wanted to pick out. But let's move on to next to probably one of the games of the day was the Giants at the Broncos. With Denver 33 versus 32. Now this was an incredible game, Eddie. Do you want to take people through the story?
Yeah, so this game was only going in one direction until the 4th quarter. You would look at the points that came out of this game and you would think, wow, this was, quarterbacks were song, everything was humming. It was anything but that. The Broncos weren't doing much in the game at all. And I think in the 4th quarter, the Giants were leading still by a lot of points. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like there was chaos, that just started going on. And you've got to feel for the kicker because the kicker misses that extra point. And then, that you almost knew that this is just typical kind of Giants type of thing where, they're so close to a win. And then the defense that you would have thought was probably the stronger unit, within the Giants could have stopped the Broncos because all they needed was just stop the Broncos and they had that victory. And the Broncos just needed a field goal to win that game. High scoring game, but it was just one of those that was very, very strange. I think there you saw, 2 quarterbacks, one a rookie quarterback who's you got to give him some grace. He's going to have up and downs, in the season. Had a few flashes here and there. He doesn't have all his weapons. Malik Neighbors is injured. And then you look at Bo Nix, who played considerably well last season. I feel like this season is his sophomore slump, right? Where they're probably trying to get him to do a lot more than he did in the first season because he's running less this season than he did last season. And maybe that's where they're trying to kind of say, well, you're a quarterback. You can't just be taking off all the time. You need to almost kind of go through, the curve of being a good quarterback, going through your progressions, making throws and stuff like that. And he still doesn't look very comfortable in terms of that. Both defenses, looked a little bit average in this game. But this is the NFL, right? The differences between winning and losing sometimes is just a couple of seconds, right? A few seconds you're thinking you're heading for the victory, and then guess what? Your kicker, someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and now you're heading back home and thinking, what the heck is going on? I mean, in the third quarter, there was a big deficit, in the Broncos, because I was looking at this guy. I thought, you know what? This game is done, right? Jackson Dart threw for 4 touchdowns. But when you throw that interception, right, it really matters when you throw the interception, because you throw the interception in the first half, in the first quarter, okay, that was bad, but you've got a lot of time to like recover. But when you throw that interception towards the end of the game, it just sinks everybody, right? It deflates everybody, and you're thinking to yourself, right, now you don't have the time, right, to actually go out and do something. And to lose a game by 1 point is just the worst way to
it's
lose
shocking.
a game now.
Yeah, I mean, it is. This will be tough for the Giants to take, but this could be a springboard for Denver, right? So we've talked a lot about this season about the Bucs and Baker Mayfield, how he's been great at taking a team losing in the fourth quarter, driving them to victory. And I think this could really be something that Jackson Dart looks back. Jackson Dart, sorry, Bo Nix looks back on with some pride, because if you look at his general sort of stats, fairly. I mean, he got a lot of yards, just 279 yards, which is only 4 yards short of what Jackson Dart got in that game. But 27 successful passes out of 50. Right, that's nearly 50%, and that is pretty poor. But at the same time, threw for 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for 2 touchdowns. So I mean, if you mentioned some of the scoring, and I was just looking at this as you say, and I think the actual scoring is even more remarkable, right? So the Giants went into the fourth quarter 19 zip up, right?
Yeah.
So 19-0, right? Denver got their first touchdown with 14 left on the clock, 2-point conversion. 19-8. New York responded with a touchdown. But then so they responded with a touchdown at 1 point, so it was 26-8.
26-8 in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter. It was
so that's 10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. With 5 minutes to go, Nick scrambles for a 7-yard touchdown to make it 26-14, right?
Yeah.
From that, in that 5 minutes, they hit 3 consecutive touchdowns, which is a rare thing in the NFL. But then with 37 seconds left, New York thought they had won it, right? And they got that touchdown. Yes, they missed the extra point. It's so back and forth, but the fact that a team can drive, be down by such a margin, and then drive your team forward 3 consecutive touchdowns to sort of take the lead, and then to get that last minute field goal, that is something that the Denver have to take the positive from. They have to use that as a springboard in their season. They're 5-2, right? So they're doing okay, right? And 5-2 sounds a hell of a lot better than 4-3.
It does, especially
right?
In a division with AFC West, right? So
absolutely. If they could have been 4, if they had lost that and they'd been 4-3, you would have had the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs all on 4-3.
Yeah.
They've won that game. They're still top of the AFC West. So I think that could be a really good springboard for them. And fair play to Bo Nix. He hasn't. I agree. Him and Jaden Daniels, they haven't had the second season that a lot of fans would have hoped for. It's a bit too early to say whether it's his sophomore slump, but they certainly haven't progressed or kicked on to the same level that people would have thought. But still, after 7 games, they'll be top of the division, having lost 2, won every single home game. They've now won 4 on the bounce. You know, Denver in a good position with room for improvement.
Yeah, guess who's going to Denver next?
It couldn't be the Dallas Cowboys, could it, Eddie?
It is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, shock horror.
They've not met an offense like ours yet. So this is going to be interesting. But we're going to leave that for another video because we're going to talk about that. But I think, there is something to be said about your defense giving out 25 points in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst time for your defense to turn around and be that incompetent, right?
Mm-hmm.
25 points, and that's what people score in a whole game. To
Mm-hmm.
give that up in one quarter is just, it's bad.
It is.
So yeah, I've got to say, I think the Giants brought it on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of and there was a chance, right? Because of the way the season has gone, they won that game, they would have still been in it, because in the NFC East, it's up for the grabs right now.
It absolutely is. Okay, well, I think we probably got time to maybe just talk about one more game, and we'll talk about the London game. But before we dive into that, let's just run through some of the other scores and some of the games we haven't had a chance to touch on. So yeah, just to run through some of the scores, the Bengals had a bit of a surprise victory over the Steelers, winning 33-31. When I read through these scores, Ed, if there's a quick thing you want to mention on anything, just feel free to jump in on any of these.
Yeah.
Your beloved Philadelphia Eagles broke their sort of losing slump. With a surprising, for us anyways, we both picked the Vikings. The surprising 28-22 victory over the Vikings. We've mentioned Drake May and how great he's been for a Patriots team on a roll, and they steamrolled a pretty hapless Tennessee Titans. They won that one 31-13. Carolina Panthers continue to look good when they're playing really poor teams. And they beat the New York Jets 13-6. I think the biggest thing for that was Justin Fields was benched during that game. So is he going to start next week, or is that just Fields done? Who knows? Just quickly on that, what your thoughts on that?
I don't know where the coach can go, right? There isn't much that he can do. I think he would have had like a real conversation, with the Jets, and he would have said, "Hey, this is going to probably be bad before it becomes good," right?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that is what would just be keeping the Jets a little bit focused, because they've got a defense, but they just need some competency in offense. And, Aaron Glenn could say, well, he's a defensive minded coach, so that part of his direct influence is doing okay. So now it's a question of, okay, maybe does he get a good offensive coordinator to come in and help a little bit, help with some of the things that you can use to overcome bad quarterback play, because sometimes you could, have an offensive coordinator that maybe just schemes things a little bit differently, try something different to get the offense going and just get them to be at least just competent, even if they're not great. So maybe that might be the first thing that they do. They might get a new offensive coordinator that might come in and just help things.
Well, they need a miracle worker. So I'll have to see if Jesus Christ is available to be an offensive coordinator. See if he's ready to moonlight. What else we got here? So we've talked about the Dolphins and the Browns. Unfortunately, we had the Chicago Bears. Pretty good, pretty decent 26-14 victory over the New Orleans Saints, who they're another team who continue to struggle. The Chiefs blew out the Las Vegas Raiders 31-zip. That was as comprehensive a victory as you can. And the Chiefs are slowly but surely building momentum. 4-3.
Yeah.
Still looking good. Obviously, they're still a playoff. I mean, I joked about and said they'll be one and done in the playoffs. I still think they could be.
Yeah.
I even said they might not even make the playoffs, I think, at some point, but I think they are slowly building momentum.
Yeah.
Mahomes is looking better. Kelsey's looking better. So, but I
And
mean,
the Shirak is back.
Absolutely. But it is only the Raiders, so let's not give them too much credit.
Yeah.
The one game we were going to talk about, which I think we've run out of time for, is the Colts winning once again, this time on the road to the LA Chargers, a team a lot of people have thought potential underdogs this season. This is a great victory for the Colts, 38-24. Do you want a quick minute on this game? Because I know it's something you wanted to. I know you had it in the running order, but we've kind of lost time.
Yeah, we have lost time. The one thing I would say that Indiana Jones, aka Daniel Jones, is not a fluke in the Colts.
No, not anymore.
You watch that game and it doesn't look like they're fluking their way. It's not like one score games that you're kind of thinking it might swing in one direction or the other. Jonathan Taylor right now is the best running back in the NFL, no question about that. He's absolutely 3 touchdowns, I think he had in that game, if I'm correct. And he was unplayable, absolutely unplayable in that game. And Daniel Jones is looking good.
Yes.
All the stories about Justin Herbert, about how he's one of that, and that used to annoy me, how they used to put Justin Herbert above Dak Prescott. And I'm just like, what exactly is the reason why you're doing that? What is the evidence? And he looked bad. He looked bad in that game. He looked like he wasn't, and hey, the game says that they scored 24 points, but those were garbage points, right? Towards the end of the game. It wasn't like as if this was anything close. That game was pretty much done, for a long time. And at some point, when you score 30 something points on an opponent, you're just like, okay, you're not trying as hard, right? Because nobody wants to get injured, in a game that that you're already winning. I think they already scored the 38 points. And I think for like what in the fourth quarter, they had already scored that many points that, the last 13 minutes of that game, these guys were just padding stats. They're just padding the stats. The Chargers were just padding because they didn't score. They didn't score again. So it was just like, okay, you scored 24 points, but really those 24 points does not really reflect how one-sided this game was. Colts deserve everything that they got.
Absolutely. This was a game that was almost deciding in the second quarter.
Yeah.
The Colts in the second quarter outscored the Chargers by 17-0, right, to really take the game away. So at halftime, the score was 23-3. That's a hard storyline that's a hard result to come back. And yeah, the Daniel Jones redemption arc continues apace, which is great to see. He is certainly this season Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. And then you look at some of the other quarterbacks who are struggling, whether it's a Tua, Justin Fields, and say, look, there is hope. If it's not working in one particular team, doesn't mean it can't work in another team.
Sure.
And then the only other 2 scores that's worth mentioning: Green Bay Packers won on the road against the Arizona Cardinals, 27-23, and the 49ers picked up a 20-10 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll just wrap up, Eddie. We'll just talk maybe sort of 5 minutes on this because we've talked a lot about the London games. This was the final London game, international game in London this season. 3 weeks in a row. You've been to all 3. This time it was the Jacksonville Jaguars losing comprehensively to the LA Rams 35-7. This was this really was a walkover, wasn't it? But first of all, forget about the game. Do you enjoy it as a fan? I'm assuming it was great to be there again.
It was great. It was great. Always love going to watch the NFL game. The atmosphere is always electric. I was there pretty much early. I was in the fan zone interacting with the guys. So watch out for the vlog that should be coming out soon.
It's called a blog, not vlog. Vlog. Put it together.
I don't know why I keep saying that, but watch out for the vlog. That's gonna come out soon. Still editing and putting all the stuff together, but the experience, of going for an NFL game and just being there in the stadium to catch, the excitement, watch the game live, see the players perform. It's great, always great. And so I'm always grateful when the games come, because it's that one opportunity to be part of the NFL family, even in the United Kingdom. And this game did not disappoint. It had, it had everything. There was this. I was where I was sitting. There was this guy. It was clear that this is a proper football fan, not American football fan, but a normal football fan. He was heckling all throughout the game. He was noisy. In the first half, he was like, we're a second half team. He was supporting the Jaguars, so he was like, we're a second half team. We're gonna, we're gonna light it up in the second half. He was saying,
when you're 21-0 down at halftime, you need to be a bloody good second half team to bring that back.
He was still screaming, we're a second half team. Everyone around him was so happy when he left. I think he left towards the end of the third quarter when he just knew that, okay, this is not happening. And so he left the game, and almost everyone unanimously was like, whoo, because he was just so loud. But I mean, this is what you get, in the game. Everyone is just, expressing their passions. All the fans are there. Some, intently, cheering in the game, but some just there for the experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I absolutely enjoyed it. It was a rainy day. It was a rainy day in Wembley, so
it was a horrible weekend, wasn't it?
It was a wet one, but no, I enjoyed it.
Excellent. Well, I mean, these international games are always great. Hopefully, next season I'll be able to join you down in the big smoke. But yeah, look, I mean, let's look at the game itself. Now, if I didn't tell you the score,
yeah,
I told you that one team had more passing yards, more rushing yards, and more yards per play, you would think that team is likely to win.
yeah.
If I also told you that team who had more yards lost 35-7, sometimes the stats lie.
They do.
I mean, obviously, I wasn't able to watch this. I was taking my daughter to her first netball match in Barnsley, so I had a bit of travel, so I wasn't able to watch this. But if I was to come back and look at that stat, I mean, the biggest thing that you look at this is the penalty yardage that the Jags gave up. They gave up 119 yards versus 45 for the LA Rams. But tell me, Eddie, obviously you were there, you lived it, you saw it. Why was this such a massive scoreline for the Rams? Again, the Jags didn't even turn it over. I mean, if you look at Trevor Lawrence's stats, 23 successful passes out of 48, 219 yards, 1 touchdown. Was this purely down to the quarterback play? I mean, Stafford 21 out of 33, but 182 yards, so considerably less, 100 yards less thrown than Lawrence, but 5 touchdowns. So
yes,
where do you put this down to? Why was this such a blowout?
I think Stafford was just efficient, and it was the first play of the game. Devontae Adams went out and grabbed, this pass, towards the sideline. And that was when you're kind of thinking, okay, I can kind of see a pattern emerging a little bit in this game. The Rams were very efficient, and of course their defense, came to play. But it was a case of they will let the Jaguars do all the running, then the Jaguars will have to punt, and then within 4 or 5 plays, the Rams will be in the end zone, and then they'll score. And it was like that. It wasn't like the Rams, I mean, we're doing like long play drives, 12, 11, 13 play drives to get to the end zone. They were just efficient. They were getting to the end zone very quickly. And when they got there, they scored, and they didn't need like 4 or 5, 3 attempts to try and get it in. As soon as they got anywhere near the 20-yard line, they were getting in and scoring. So it was clearly a game that the Rams, and here's an interesting story. So the Rams didn't arrive in London until Saturday morning.
Really? I didn't know that.
Now they didn't arrive till Saturday morning. So, and I tweeted when I saw that, I was saying that the Rams must know something that we don't know. This could be a blowout. And when I was tweeting that, half of me was thinking, well, it could be a blowout for the Jaguars because I mean, how do you, travel and arrive, on the Saturday, the day before the game? Because usually, most teams come in like on a Tuesday or something, and kind of build themselves, into the game. But when you come in on the Saturday, that is really, really ballsy. That's like confidence, like.
Well, I
And
mean,
just
we've both done this. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
we've both been to America for work and for family holiday and stuff. It's the trip back this side of the Atlantic in terms of jet lag. That's the one that always hits you.
yeah,
Obviously for us, we don't fly in a private jet or anything like that, and we've also got two screaming kids and a generally a pissed off and bored wife, with us at the same time. So, but coming back over, this is when the jet lag really hits you compared to the other way.
yeah.
I cannot imagine flying back and playing elite level sport the next day. It takes me about a week to acclimatize to be back in the UK. But hey, it really worked for them, mate. The thing is with like sport and sports sites at the moment, obviously in football, more than any other sport, always looking for those marginal gains. So some bright spark in LA just must have said, this might be a good way for the players, mental, physical, peak physical condition to
Yeah,
just arrive almost as if it is like just another away game.
yeah.
That's probably just how they treated it.
It must have been that, right? Because I mean, there are some trips, if you're traveling, Seattle to a couple of places to go and play.
Miami and that kind of stuff.
You're
Yeah.
that is a long, so they probably looked at it that way and said, hey, let's just look at it this way. We might be going from the east to the west coast, to go play a game, right? So let's treat it like that. I mean, I would be fascinated to know what that plane ride was, right? Was there someone like was walking around? I was like, you need to go to sleep. You need to get your rest. Like how, that plane ride, they must have, I suspect, and they must have not left LA on the Saturday. I think they probably would have been in the East Coast, right? They had to be in the
Well,
East Coast.
it's an 11-hour flight from California. It's an 11-hour
Yes,
flight, 8-hour time difference. That's
yes,
a huge
yes.
swing. But
So what I suspect is that they probably were somewhere like in the East Coast, and then it was like a 6-hour flight, because then that's really doable, right? If you fly from the West Coast to somewhere in the East Coast, maybe a couple of days before you do all your training there and everything, and then you get on the plane, and then 6 hours, into London, yeah, could work. But yeah, they might do something that other people might try next time just to see.
absolutely. Well, I'm sure you'll be there, being our reporter on the ground, doing your vlog next season. But look, as always, let's leave it there. It was another great weekend in the NFL. It's great to unpack it with you as always, Eddie. We'll be back we'll be back later in the week, actually, of course, to do our predictions to see if Eddie can finally catch up with me. About 4 or 5 games behind now, Eddie. So you've got a long way to catch up. But for now, Eddie, for this week, take us home.
Yeah, so week 7 has told us a lot of things, right? It's told us who's rising, but it's also told us who the real teams are, right? The Colts are for real, and the Rams are out. Dallas Cowboys are alive, and the Miami Dolphins, they've got some homework to do. So week 8, I think we're going to bring our helmets to see. We might be able to, strike up for some teams. Ravens, might need some help. The Dolphins might need some help. The Jets, goodness me, they do need a lot of help. But if you're rocking with us, please hit that like and subscribe button as well. Hit the notification bar as well, just so you can get all our content when we upload them. And we'll see you in week 8. We should be great across the gridiron.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the